powerful, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh, I can't wait to celebrate his birthday. It's going to be so great, so fun. I have this planned out. This will be good, like, you know, for me to celebrate him and just to take it all in and cry and just, you know, just be, I guess, just to celebrate the time that I had with him, the 7 months I had with him, the 9 months I had with him inside of my body, growing him, and that after I leave here on earth, I will be in eternity with him in heaven. So that's amazing to know that I'll get to see him again. So I try to keep those things present in my mind, even though that isn't, you know, that's not possible all the time, because I am human and I do have weak moments where I'm just crying out for him and I miss him and I just wish he was here, and there's always going to be the confusion on why me. Some days I'm able to deal with the why me's. Like, for instance, some days I'm strong and I'm really, really strong in spirit in my faith, and I'm like, well, I know that my purpose on earth is to spread awareness of SIDS and share like grief support to those who are in need of it, regardless of their situation. That's another thing I'm trying to wrap my mind around a lot. I've been going to grief courses and I've been trying to get as much information, not only for me, but to give to those who are grieving, not only children, but just like loved ones, because I know it's hard. And when you lose someone, a lot of times people don't really know how to go about it, how to comfort you. Depending on who you lost, they might not necessarily know or want to get close to it because they're in fear of saying the wrong thing, or they just kind of feel like if they don't speak to you or talk to you that you'll get through it, and then they can just be like, okay, like that was too much, but okay, she got through it, so then they can come around after. So I know, like, when you're grieving, everyone might not necessarily have the same support, is what I'm trying to get at. So going through my grief courses, it's 13 weeks, and I've been trying to gather as much information, not just for now, but for the long run, to help people who are grieving or going to be grieving. And also I want to be in contact and try to get in contact with as many people about SIDS and SUIDS, which is SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome, and then the other one is sudden unexpected infant death syndrome. So there are two in the one of the kind, but the other one is just a little bit off. So yeah, I try to keep in my mind I'm missing him and that he's gone, that this is my purpose and I need to live in it and trust in God, and also not rely on my own understandings. And we have to remember that when God puts us through things, it's not really for us to understand, and we can't try to fathom what his meaning or purpose was for like certain traumas and situations in our lives to bring testimony, because God doesn't owe that to us, for one. And for two, it's if he was to come down here right now and try to explain to me why he took Caden and try to give me the underlying and really deep reason, I wouldn't even be able to comprehend it, because it's God. Like, if that makes sense, like his mind and his meaning amongst so many things that he created for this earth and for us is like beyond our understanding. So I try to stay within my word and sermons, and sometimes it does get really hard and I just break down and I don't know how I'm gonna make it the next day, the next minute, the next hour. And I'm trying to stay involved in support groups and moms who have lost babies. I try to stay in contact with them. Also, it's good to be around people who are grieving in general and to get support with that, because you can hear their story and their testimony might hit you to keep going, and vice versa. So yeah, and then what was the opposite of that? That keeps me going. And some days I have the days where I can't, I can't really do too much. I'm constantly crying, and songs that are just popping up that just remind me of him, and Even commercials, like baby commercials of sweet little baby, sweet little pamper commercials and stuff, those get to me too sometimes. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do, because it reminds me of my little Caden. And even as far as like social media, that was one of the main reasons why I, like, right after it happened, I just deactivated my social media accounts, because it made me feel like I wasn't in the mom race anymore. There was a lot of moms that we were in the journey together, or Instagram moms that I followed way before I got pregnant, that I just like was in awe of. And Caden passed, and going on social media, it was just like kind of hard. It was actually really, really hard to see like other kids that were the same age as Caden. Now they're starting to walk, and they're eating solids like Caden was starting to do, and just doing little things that Caden would do or was going to do. So not to take away from that, because that's amazing for all those moms who have their babies, because I wouldn't wish this upon anybody, not even my worst enemies, which I don't really have enemies, but you can get what I'm saying. It's still just hard to see, knowing that you don't have that right now, like physically. I know I have my son with me, like spiritually he'll always be within me, and I'll get to see him in eternity, but you know, we don't really know when that is. Not to say I'm trying to rush to get there, but it's like down here on earth, we're on a clock, like it's time, everything's time. But in heaven, there's no time. So it's like we don't know when we'll see them again. So that is also hard to deal when you don't know when you're going to see them. It's like, okay, you can keep in your mind like, oh, I'm going to see them again, but you don't know when. So it's like you have to live down here on earth, find your purpose, figure out your strengths, and prioritize the correct things, and follow God, and try to stay strong while you're down here until you get called home. And unfortunately, some of us are placed with bigger burdens, bigger traumas than others. Not to say that takes away from their purpose, but unfortunately, like I said, unfortunately, some of us are placed with harder traumas and burdens than others, which makes the journey down here on earth harder, and to fight stronger and fight off those demons and fight off like sinful living makes it that much harder. Because as I learned in my grief share class, there are people who indulge in the wrong things when they lose someone. Let's say like some people, they start drinking too much, or they start indulging in like let's say if they lose like their spouse or something, they might indulge in like just sex with random people. So it's just that when you go through these things, it's like you have to fight those urges to want to drink or whatever you want to indulge in. It doesn't even have to just be liquor. That's just one that keeps popping in my head. And you have to be able to fight those things and grow closer with God, because that's one of the things that I got from this. It was to grow strong in Christ is to become weak in yourself. God pours no power into man's heart till man's power is all poured out. Live then daily a life of dependence on the grace of God. So what I got from that is, like they say, God is strongest to the brokenhearted. And I believe that, because you can't fully accept and take God in until accept it that you need him. Self-sufficient and you feel like you don't need anyone. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. As far as like, you don't need God, you don't need faith, you don't need to be high in spirit. You feel like you could just get through this life on your own and just figure it out on your own, then you're gonna fail, because the only way to get through this life is to be close to God and be close to your faith. I guess you can try to make it as best you can, but at the end of the day, that's sacrificing your eternally life, where you're going to be eternally. This is a timeline, like down here on earth. That's what I try to remember too. This is a timeline. We're on a timeline down here. This isn't forever. So when you pass away, you have to really think of, where do you see yourself going after this timeline? When I would love to be with God, that's where I want to be. That's where I plan on being. That's where I'm going to be. I gave myself to God, and that's my my savior, and I have no problem telling people that, and I have no problem telling people my testimony, my journey, and opening up about my story, losing my baby and what it's doing for me, the good and the bad, because that's also another thing that they say that you want to try to avoid. When you speak of God within your life, don't try to leave out the bad. Like, it's important to speak of the things you went through before you got to that point, because you don't want to mislead people and have them thinking that, oh, if I turn to God, everything's going to be good. No. You dedicate your life to Christ, you're putting a target on your back. A lot of things that are going to try to break your faith and break that connection that you're trying to make with God. So you just have to keep that in mind. But of course, it's worth it. Like, all the trials and tribulations and everything that comes my way, it's super painful, but it's also uplifting to know that I'm going through these things, but God's going to get me out. Because even when I go through these things and have rough days, he never fails to put someone in my path that I wouldn't have even imagined, who can just speak so much power and just like look into me and just know that God's working within me, and know that I'm going to be okay. It really helps you to understand that God is always working. God hears you. And it's crazy, because I was talking to one of my lost moms about how I do kind of feel like it's kind of getting less and less. First happened, I can say I felt a sense of embarrassment. Like, when it first happened, I didn't want to tell any of my family, I didn't want to tell any of my friends. It was just embarrassing, like in a sense of embarrassment, because it's like, although my baby passed away to SIDS, and it's something that they don't even know why it's happening, and it's been happening for decades, and it can happen from kids like from their like 2 weeks to a year. So many people in the community, it's ridiculous, like thousands and thousands and thousands. I feel a sense of embarrassment as a mom. I say I can speak for myself, because I prided myself on being a mom. I thought I was doing everything correct. I was breastfeeding, I was doing this. I didn't start him on salt until he got 6 months. I took him to all his appointments. Even when I was pregnant, I went to every single appointment. I took my prenatal pills every single day. I tried to eat healthy the whole pregnancy. I slept on my left side. There's just so many different things that I tried to research and do right as a mom, as a first-time mom. And for my baby to pass away, it was like, oh, it was kind of like a shock, like, oh, so was I not a good mom? And then it also made me question, because my mom wasn't there for me. So it just puts you in weird headspaces and weird thoughts, like maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and and that's what the enemy wants you to do. That's what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to feel like I wasn't supposed to be a mom. I wasn't meant to be a mom. I wasn't good enough for Caden. He wasn't placed in the right hands or anything like that. But I'm learning that, I read something about it. It said, who said it? I think it was Joel Osteen. Something like, don't try to hide, don't be embarrassed, and don't try to hide your scars, because those scars are meant to guide you through life and help others, and ultimately prove how great God is and how he works. So I know that this is going to be an amazing testimony. As far as some, like when I tell my story, they feel like it already is. And I know this is a long video. I don't know if I'm going to have to cut this into 2. But anyways, one more thing I guess I could try to touch on was this lady. Okay, today when I went to church, this lady who I had pray for me, this is how I say it's like something from God. Prayer, I spoke on my little piece about how, I lost my baby on the 4th of July to SIDS, and it's going to be, the holidays are coming up, and I just wanted to get prayer to get through these first, that he's not going to be here, that I expect him to be here for, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, his birthday. And I was like, his birthday is going to be the day after Thanksgiving, so I wanted to get prayer for that. And right when she started praying for me, she started speaking in tongues, and she was just like, in like her face, like she was just like, oh my gosh, like she and when she started saying, she was like, all is well, all is well. Like, you can tell that. And this is weeks after. Obviously she knows her word, her Bible, because right when she heard my story, she just kept saying that, and she was just like in awe, and it was just like basically taking her back to that passage in the Bible. and her prayer for me was just so in-depth and so beautiful, and she just was so connected to me, and I've never met her before. So God works. He works, and that's why I always say it's hard for me to ever think that he's not real, because God's so strong, and I know he wants me here, because there were days when I just didn't want to be here. And to say I would harm myself, but there was days where I just wanted to just lay in bed and not eat and not drink and just lay there and just sleep all day. And I would go out for something, like go out to get food or something, check the mail, and then somebody will walk in my path, and my neighbor or something, and be like, hey, this is so and so, I want you to meet her, she lost her son and blah blah. And then that would just get me in higher spirits and just keep me going. This is going to be one video because it's already pretty long. I might make it into two. I am going to try to, I guess you can say, vlog as much as the week. Somebody is walking outside. Vlog as much as this week I can. I'll try to get moments where I'm more vulnerable. Today, I mean, I just got back from church right now, so I'm kind of like, oh, feeling it right now. It might hit me a little later, but I'm not trying to wish that upon myself. I'm trying to have more stronger days, but I'm going to try to vlog a lot of Caden's birthday that I'm going to be doing. I'm for sure celebrating his birthday regardless. So thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this, and follow my journey. Hopefully this touched someone in the SIDS community, or somebody in general who just wanted a little inspiration and just something to keep going, and just to know that God is real. Hopefully this touches you, and thank you, and bye.